Hey y'all, my name is Mick. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd rather just watch the speed paint version, I will put a link in the description and an eye in the sky right now. I know I've only done a couple of these videos, but that intro is already ingrained in me so much. One day I'm gonna wake up in a cold sweat and immediately just blurt out those 3 sentences. Anyway, I sort of have a weird format for this video because I'm going to start off with a poem. It's by an unknown author. Here goes. Stick to your task till it sticks to you. Beginners are many, but enders are few. Honor, power, place, and praise will come in time to the one who stays. Stick to your task till it sticks to you. Bend at it, sweat at it, smile at it too. For out of the bend and the sweat and the smile will come life's victories after a while. And I didn't just read that poem because I like it, which, I do like it. It's short and nice, and it feels like one of those Goops poems that I had to read as a child. It's just, I think it's a good poem. I read it because it relates to the topic of the video, which is finish your gosh damn projects. It is so much better to have a finished product and not be entirely proud of it than it is to have a bunch of scrap projects that may have had solid beginnings but just never got finished. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here because I actually want to talk about this poem line by line, because art is just like comedy in that it only gets better when you explain it. But even before I do that, I just want to quickly say that this is an art channel, so I'm really going to be talking about art projects, but this topic is so much more vague than my other subjects that it's applicable to any project, really. Alright, so stick to your task till it sticks to you. This, I think, is something that holds back a lot of people with a number of unfinished projects because they think that they are incapable of following through on tasks. They justify it by saying that they just aren't that type of person, their brain isn't wired that way, and granted, it is something that comes easily to certain people, and certain people it doesn't, but following through on a task is a skill that can be learned and improved upon. I used to be so bad about not finishing things and not following through on tasks, and it wasn't just projects. I had this problem with every single aspect of my life. I will spare you the personal stories because honestly they are embarrassing, but trust me when I say that I thought about myself in the same way. And I am so good at completing things now. I finish everything that I start. I am so task oriented, so whether it's cleaning the dishes or a huge art project that I know will take up a lot of my time, I can rest assured in the knowledge that I am going to finish it. That's why I'm so determined about the comic that I'm starting this week and the 100 palette challenge that I started last week, because I know that it's a huge undertaking and that it'll take me 8 years if my math and projected prolificacy are correct, but mark my words, I am going to finish that bullshit. Because I have developed the skill of finishing things. Like, if you think that you can't finish projects because of your personality or how you act, know that I also thought I was beyond saving. Anyone would have thought that about me. But because I have finished so many projects and so many tasks, I am now completely confident in my ability to go through with things, and I know that there's no excuse for me to abandon a project because I am capable of finishing it, regardless of how much time it'll take, if the project is more difficult than I predicted, or if I don't think I am skilled enough to do the project justice. Okay, wow, I may have strayed a little away from the line that I was talking about, but for this line I just wanted to say that 1, you can learn to accomplish tasks, and you can learn to accomplish more and more ambitious tasks, and 2, you should be carving out regular blocks of time where you work on your project. If you put something aside for months or years, you are not sticking to your project, you abandon it. Even if you pick it up later, you still abandon it for a pretty long time. I talked at length recently about making an art schedule, and when you do, you should look at it and dedicate some time in your art time to your project. I think 15 minutes minimum, but that's just me. You can find what works for you. But if you regularly work on your project, you become more and more attached to it, and then you start wanting to work on it more. And then something that maybe started off as a chore to you is something that you can't wait to be doing, and that's when it has stuck to you. But you have to keep working on it for that to happen. Beginners are many, but enders are few. It takes so much work to finish a project. That's just the fact of the matter. It's difficult, and it's way easier to not finish. That's the case for everything. It's way easier to not do something than it is to do something. And oftentimes things get harder as you go along. Beginnings are often easier because you start with the easiest things. In an art project, it's stuff like thumbnailing, value maps, sketching, but it gets so much more difficult as you go along and you reach the harder and harder steps. And you're improving as you go, so things are getting easier for you, but it's not always easy to tell. Honor, power, place, and praise will come in time to the one who stays. This is another thing that holds a lot of people back from finishing projects. It's that your hard work doesn't really get recognized until after you're done. That's not the case for every project. It's different if you're doing like a webcomic and releasing pages on a regular schedule, or if you're doing a series of pieces and releasing each one as you finish it. In cases like that, you'll get some recognition throughout, but for a lot of projects you won't be able to really show people until it's done. And that can be hard because you're doing work, you're putting effort in, and you're not getting the sort of validation of your hard work that you would get if you, say, made one piece and posted it online. But if you stop working on that project, you will never get the recognition for the work that you've already put into it. I think that it's so much better and so much more rewarding to power through and finish the project. Bend at it, sweat at it, and smile at it too. You have to put in the work to make a good finished product. And it's a lot of work. I've already talked in this video about how much work it is, but I think it's important to reiterate so that you know when you start a project that it is a lot of work that needs to be put in on a consistent basis. You have to be prepared to do that. But I think what is also important is to know that as you're working, you should appreciate the work that you're making as you go along. Don't just work yourself to death. Occasionally, you should stop and look at what you've done and recognize the work that you've put into it and appreciate that. Appreciate the good things about what you've done, because recognizing what you've done right and done well instead of just focusing on continuing to work or obsessing over things that you've done wrong is extremely beneficial and motivating. Way more than just focusing on the negative, because looking at the positive will help you keep your head up, and because, hey, it makes you feel better about your art to focus on some things that you are doing right. That's why when you learn how to do a proper critique, it involves pointing out what you like about the artist piece. For out of the bend and the sweat and the smile will come life's victories after a while. This line I think is representative of what I said earlier with the whole it's better just to power through a piece thing, because you need to go through the work in order to get the quote-unquote victory, which is just the completion of the task or the project. Because here's the thing about abandoning projects, you will not get that sense of completion if you don't actually complete the thing you're working on. And you can't really analyze your art unless it's done. You can a bit, but you aren't getting the whole picture. Literally, because you don't have the whole picture. So just some closing thoughts. Seriously, finish your project. You get so much out of completed projects that you don't get from individual pieces, and it's hard for me to explain everything that you get out of it, but if I ever figure out how to word the differences between what you get out of both, I may make another video about it. I also just wanted to say that I don't apply the logic of this video to individual pieces. Sometimes pieces just don't work out, and that's fine. For those, I think that it's better to not force yourself to finish them, and even that's different. If you never finish drawings, then yeah, force yourself to finish something, but in general, I think it's okay to scrap pieces, but there's oftentimes so much more preparation work that goes into a project that makes me think it is better to finish it. And there are some exceptions. I said at the beginning of this video that this is somewhat applicable to things other than art, so I want to say if this is some sort of project that requires you to put money into it and it's not working out, consider scrapping the project instead of throwing yourself into debt. Just a thought. If the project is bad for your physical health, which some art projects can be, certain styles and mediums really mess up my shoulder and wrist, so if that's the case, then don't feel compelled to finish the project. So yeah, it's sort of a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, I would say that you should finish your projects. So with that said, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!